What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Ask a CISSP. So this is a companion podcast, The Other Side of the Firewall, where we talk about the latest and greatest in cybersecurity news, as well as we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. So speaking of which, I have Matthew Hale on the show. So this is not our first conversation, but like I tell everybody, I like to come to these pretty cold. So I know enough, but not too much where I don't have, some interesting questions that I'm sure the audience will have as well. So very interesting, gentlemen. So you are the CEO of We Gonna Learn Today, which is the biggest digital/interactive website for Black history. You are also a retired Marine veteran. So thank you for your service. Greatly appreciate that. It's kind of crazy how I've had veteran entrepreneurs on here pretty much the past 3 or 4 weeks, right? Just like I said in the last episode with Derek Phillips, like this is what we do, right? We are entrepreneurs. We are the trend setters. So with all that being said, I want to dig into your background, your cybersecurity origin story, your pivot out of the military, and then we'll go right into what you currently do as an entrepreneur and CEO. So without further ado, kind of break down your background for us.
Well, my name is Matthew Hale. I am, like you said, a retired Marine, disabled vet. I have a bachelor's degree in computer science, a master's degree in computer engineering. I also code in C#, C++, Luna, Java, and some Red Hat. I develop apps, video games, websites. I'm also pretty good I'm a senior architect in Azure. I also have my MCSE. I have my certifications in VMware. Worked for the military for about 6 years before I was medically retired. And then I went back and started working for the DoD, and I've worked for them for over 20 years in just various aspects. I've been lucky to be a part of some great programs. I was part of the V-22 Osprey when it first started. This was when they was trying to work the kinks out. I was the guy that helped build the classrooms for all the pilots to go through and learn more about the different how to navigate the V-22 Osprey. I've also been I was the beginning part of MARSOC, which is the Marine Corps equivalent to like Navy SEALs and Rangers and stuff like that. I was there in the beginning, worked on that platform for a while, and then kind of transitioned down here to Florida, worked at JCSC and SOCOM. I've always been in the computer realm as far as once I got out of the military, and I kind of worked my way up the ladder, from being a PC tech to the senior lead on many different programs, just building out different platforms and figuring out different ways on how to run server farms and make it to where it's easier for our troops downrange to be able to get the information in as least time as possible. Yeah, so as far as transitioning out of that, once I got tired of the politicking, I kind of, started. While I was in, I was, working on this project to try to bring more Black history for my grandkids. And that kind of spawned into a 10 activity workbook series. So I am the author of the Black Historical Figures Activity Workbooks. They're on every major platform. They're on Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, Amazon, pretty much Black English right here in Tampa. There are, as he said, I also have the biggest digital interactive website for Black history. So not only, because everything about what I've been trying to do is try to not just get you to read a clip or anything, but get you to retain the information. how do I do that from kids from 5 years old to adults that are 95 years old? And as best as I know, is repetition. So, what better way to learn things is through activities and engagement. So, I built a website. I designed it myself. I wrote all the code in the background for you to do all the different activities. I do use different programs to showcase my activities, but I was the one that, I did the research. It took me a little over 4 years, and I've only hit the tip of the iceberg. I'm just kind of showcasing and letting people see that there is, what I found over that 4 years is that it's not that the information is not out there. It's just that it's hard to come by. It's hard to search, and everybody don't have time on their hands like I do to look for these things. But people want to know the information. So another part of my thing is how to make this readily available for everyone. You can go to certain sites and get stuff about Martin Luther King or Rosa Parks, or maybe over here get about Frederick Douglass and W.E.B. Du Bois, or you go over here, you learn a little bit about Cicely Tyson and Tyler Perry. But where's that site that kind of puts all of those people in the same realm? To where you can, if you want to learn about all of these different individuals, you don't have to skip around all over the place. And that's
Right.
what I'm trying to bring to, and that's what's different about my site. My site is built off of subjects. So, you have, there's on the site, there's 16 subjects in all. And they range, let me make sure I'm telling you all the right ones. They
Oh, no problem.
range from inventors to superheroes, black superheroes. That is, everything about my site is only about Black history. Like if you're looking to learn about, even though Black history is American history, Black history is the history that is conveniently removed from American history books. So I decided to go and bring out the stories of these individuals that they just don't want to talk about for some reason. Uh,
Yeah. So let's unpack some of this then, because
okay.
like I commend you. Like that is a lot of experience, a lot of history and story that you yourself bring, right? Like when we talk about Black history, you've been to certain areas and done certain things that a lot of us can't say. Like I've seen an Osprey, right? Like
Uh,
I wasn't around when that program started, and I feel uncomfortable around those things. To be honest with
they felt uncomfortable in the beginning because I don't know if you remember, there was quite a few accidents
you. Right,
in the beginning of that, so people were trying to figure out, you know, what are we doing wrong in the aspect of
right.
training these pilots and stuff. But yeah, Boeing took a huge hit in the beginning, but they're prospering now.
Right, absolutely. But yeah, just the things you brought up, such as working for MARSOC, working for JCSE, so the Joint Communication Support Element. I also am a alumnus, I guess you would say,
You know,
or alumni of JCSE. So when we were talking, and you said that you were also JCSE, I was like, man, we just never ran into each other because of how big the organization. Like it seems small at first, but
I'm
then once
about
you
to
get
say
in
it
there, we're
does,
everywhere.
but yeah. Yeah,
uh,
and they're spread out. They got
right.
multiple buildings, and then, like you said, you could be on that what seems like a small compound, but never run into each other.
Right, right, exactly. So I spent a lot of my time in Europe and Africa and things of that nature. And so we were there at the same time, but we never crossed paths, which is crazy to me. And then you said you also worked for SOCOM, so that was one of my uh, major clients, right? I did a lot of work with SOCOM while I was there. Love the assignment, best thing in the military, right? So that's definitely amazing. But it's also amazing that you have all of this knowledge, right? So you're like a almost a one man army, no pun intended, where you're able to build, code, design, all that good stuff. What made you say okay, as opposed to this just being a project? It kind of became kind of like you own this space now. Like you have one of the largest websites that currently does this. What made you say, okay, I'm going to take on this, not only take on this project, but I'm going to build it out myself?
Well, to be honest with you, man, in my, when you're doing stuff that you love, you keep it on a minuscule scale. You don't realize how big it is until people start, like you just did, commend you on the work you've done. And I mean, I get so many times, people thanking me, telling me that, thank you for taking the time to do this. Um, it's much needed. We truly appreciate all the hard work, and I just me taking it on. What brought that on was just trying to have something for truly for my grandkids to have something to go to, but something that they can relate to. That is the biggest issue, I think. I think, sometimes, I get people, sometimes like older people, they'll open up the book and they'll be like, oh, this is a kid's book. And I'm like, no, it's not. When you start, a kid's book is, see Sam walk,
Right.
a green, green eggs and ham. Those are kids' books. This is a knowledgeable book, but it's just going through activities because a lot of people are like me. Even I don't like to read. I like things that keep me engaged, and this book just seemed like when I was developing it, the
Hmm.
best way to not only get you involved, but keep you engaged.
Right.
You read a short bio on a person, and then the next page flips right into a crossword puzzle, or, to where now I'm answering questions about this individual that I had, but I'm trying to, fill in the blanks, so I'm keeping myself engaged. Then I change the page, and now I'm doing a word search. So, but I'm still learning about Frederick McKinley. All of these things are on this individual, his different accomplishments, his accolades, the things that he's put out in the world for us to benefit from. And, you know, as you keep going through, there's 8 pages dedicated to each person in a book. So you're kind of going through these 8 pages and being encompassed by this person's life. And I tell you at the beginning of every book that these things are to intrigue you to learn more about these individuals. I didn't put every single thing in on everybody because I want you to be intrigued to research too.
Right.
So just like with me, where some of the people, like I can talk intelligently about everybody in my books. That was important to me. I didn't want to be that guy to be like, well, you got to look at that book. Uh, but what I was able to do, like certain people, like Lewis Latimer, for interest, uh, I delve deeper about him because his life story started intriguing me even more. Or maybe a Jesse Owens. I started learning more about, you know, what brought him from being before he was a four gold medalist, what got him to that point. And then when he did that, how basically his own country, even though he propped our country up, his own country turned their back on him, and pretty much he had to try to survive for him and his family, and that really intrigued me on just his um, uh, his spirit and how he was able to overcome all of these obstacles, how they tried to break this man. And after all he did for the country, and he still persevered and overcame those things. I wanted to showcase those things to let people understand that, as much as we've done for this country, and the country still in some ways haven't loved us back the same, is the representation that I'm trying to put out there.
Right. Well, I mean, it's definitely a love letter to those historical figures that you featured in the book. So when it comes to your methodology, uh, do you start with historical figures that you find to be the most interesting, or do you start with a subject or a particular
Oh,
skill?
no. So I started with a subject. Inventors intrigued me, but I am a creative person by heart. So, I'm one of those people that, loves to create himself,
Right.
but as I was doing that, I realized that everybody doesn't want to be no inventor. Some people want to be a lawyer. Some people want to be a chef. Some people want to be a musician or a poet or a sculptor. So I was like, I need to try to make this to where no matter what child, young teen, young adult, or adult themselves, they could look to any one of these subjects and be able to pick out somebody that they can inspire and learn from their story so it can inspire them to follow their goals and aspirations. So it started out with inventors. And I only had 9 in the beginning, but then as I was showing my wife, she said, what about the historical black colleges? A lot of people don't realize that there's 100+ historical black colleges and
That's true.
universities.
Right.
And so that became my 10th book. So I wrote 10 books. And then as I started doing festivals and speakings and stuff like that, people would come up to me after I talk or as they're purchasing one of my books and they'd be like, hey, what about these people? How come you haven't talked about our African kings and queens or people from the Dominican Republic or from Haiti? What about black superheroes? What about diminished stories? So on the website, I didn't write a book on these different subjects because if you subscribe to the website, you get 16 subjects instead of 10. So I added
Okay.
6 more subjects um, so that I can cover these other areas. Because the whole point of this is to try to make it to enhance it to where it fits. I might not be able to do a whole totality on all of it, but
Right.
I can do enough to where in enough areas to where a lot I can show our footprint and how we have not only enhanced this country but other countries abroad.
No, that's amazing, especially because you're casting a wide net, right? I like so that came into the conversation that we had before hand, and that's what really piqued my interest. Where I was like, hey, I got to get your LinkedIn, we got to connect, because I think there's a lot of synergy there when it comes to like the whole reason for this platform is to highlight again those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who made to the other side forever before they've broken the glass ceiling. And when you were telling your story, how you came from working in IT, the cybersecurity, cloud engineering, right? And then you were able to build this product for your grandkids and kind of balloon from there. So it's the showing people what you can be, showing them where we've been, showing how we have all this diversity and culture and things of that nature that is not highlighted in history. I find the same thing to be in spaces like cybersecurity, right? We make up such a small percentage.
Yeah.
Every time that I go to a conference, I'm on a panel, people stop and talk to me because they're like, hey, you look like me, or you have a similar background to me because you're a veteran, or just whatever it is
Oh man,
that
it's been
is
so
their
many rooms
niche,
that
right?
I've been
Yeah,
the only one in the room.
right,
Yeah. So once I started, like I said, I started as a PI and working on smaller things. But as I started to continue to get, because I came, and that just goes to show you, people don't think about the systematic ways. Because when I got out the military, uh, when I was medically retired, I went back to school. I got my bachelor's degree, but when I got my degree, I also had a web design certification and I had MCSE. But when I got my first job, I was still on with people that had no certifications,
right.
no degrees. You know, you would think that I would have got put up a little higher on a tier just because of my knowledge of these different things. So as I continue to navigate the waters, I started seeing slowly that I was the only one of color in the room. I've been in, especially when I was like at MARSOC, I was in some areas where uh, I was part of like panels to where we were making decisions for funds and stuff like that. And to be honest, I took all of my knowledge on from the DoD to help me build this website. And what I mean by that is, in all these meetings about money and all that stuff, I started to notice how, a big, company, meaning the DoD, how they would go about, contracting and building out certain things. And so they would always do things on a 5-year plan, because you get pots of people might not know, but you get pots of money every so often. And then as you're using those pots of money, you have to make decisions. Do we keep going with this, or is this a lost cause? And do we need to go with something else that we might have took? We might have hired this guy, but whoever our secondary was, maybe we should have went with them in the first place, and we realize our loss and we drop it from there. So I took all that into consideration when I built this site. I built this site to scale over the next 5 years, just like you would do in a program. So, it started out with about 60 or so people. Uh, but over the next 5 years, you'll have access to 540 something people at the end of 5 years. So every month, you get 8 new people and you get 40 plus new activities.
Okay.
But what people also don't realize is, like you said, I am kind of like a one-man show. So during that time, as I was building it, I have already created all of the material. That's how I can tell you, that you can get eight
Oh,
people.
what the roadmap is, right.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I offer that on the site so that you can see on my website. You can go and click on each subject and you can see all of the people that I've done research on. And they are coming, it says coming soon on there. Or some of them I have a month or a year, letting you know what year they're coming out. But I also took it a step further and made it to where, there's so many people coming out, and then there will be so many people in stories that you might not want to wait around for, Tyler Perry's next activity. You don't want to have to keep checking the site every day. So that's what the roadmap allows. If you go there and kind of click through the calendar, you can check each week and be like, oh, okay, Tyler Perry's next activity drops April 15th. Uh, and then you can scroll down a little further and add that to your calendar, whether it's Google or Yahoo, as a reminder. So that way you don't have to keep coming back
I
if
see.
that's the only person you want to learn about. Because some people, I've learned that too, going to these things, that people was like, I don't want to subscribe. I just want to learn about, Michael Jordan. That's all I want to do. So that's where the digital part comes in, to where you can just get the digital ebook on Michael Jordan, learn about him, and that's it. You just pay a one-time fee for that book, and then that's yours.
I see. Okay.
Or you can subscribe and get access to the whole library, everybody that's available. Plus, you get the interactive activities that are included that you can play on your game, on your iPad, your phone, computer, anything that, is a platform to see the internet. So, doing those things brings in the repetition. Those things allow you to, as like, for instance, I was at Shaw Elementary School on Tuesday, and I was doing fifth, third, fourth, second graders, and we were learning about Carter G. Woodson, while playing Frogger. You know, the frog comes up, you're
Right.
playing the game, and the lily pads are there, and the kids were going crazy on figuring out, and then especially when they got it right, that's when they really went wild. But they just enjoyed as getting, making sure that they understood. There's animated bio classes that are on that for every person. There's pop quizzes, there's jigsaw puzzles, there's sliding puzzles. There's a numerous number of activities that you can play on each of these individuals um, to help you continue to learn in different ways so that you don't get stagnant by doing the same thing all the time. And if you think you bought you subscribed and the book is the same, well, it's not. I realize, especially in our culture, people will be like, well, why should I subscribe if I bought the book? Well, you should subscribe because whatever's in the book is not on the subscription. It's giving you, I expanded the
I
information.
see what you're saying. Right.
Yeah, the things that I left out purposely on the books so that you can be intrigued to learn a little more. Those things I added on the website, and same as vice versa. So if you got, because if you subscribe, you're actually getting the ebook that would have been in the book, plus you're getting the uh, the games and activities that don't come with the book. So
Gotcha. Okay.
it's just more economical for you to subscribe than it is because I just want people to be aware that it's out there and it's slowly making progress. But because I've been featured on Fox 13, ABC Action News, Channel 8 News, Tampa Bay 10.
So that was going to be my next question. So perfect segue. So when it comes to like you said, when I go to your website, it has all of the places you've been featured. So Tampa Bay 10, Fox 13, uh, ABC, Channel 8. So do you spread how do you advertise and how do you spread this information outside of just February, right, being Black History Month, but like you said, Black history is American history.
Right.
So throughout the year, you're also educating, stopping in schools, things of that nature. So do you spread it through community outreach, or like what are your kind of your pipeline to getting this information out and then getting people to come in to subscribe?
Well, what I'm trying to do is kind of build a grassroots community because everything ain't for everybody. But I tell my kids this all the time. If you're thinking it, you can best believe 10 to 20,000 more people
Right.
just in our country is thinking it. So, and sometimes if you just cater to your base, hash out a niche that people are looking for, then you just cater to them. Because I know because I get that too. Like say for instance, last year in March, because I do post all year round.
Right.
Somebody was like, you're a month late, aren't you? Like I'm like, no, Black history is American history. It's 24/7, 365.
Right.
It's not just in February, and I'm trying to get rid of that stigma. But the way that I advertise is through social media, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram,
Okay.
Facebook. I also, do festivals. I do school talks. I do giveaways. I give away books a lot. Because again, everybody wants to make money, but that's not my goal. My goal is to get the information out there. But at the same time, I still have to pay for the website and different things like that. Because I've done like focus groups on when I was doing the editing and pieces and coming up with these payments and what people would pay if I did, do a subscription base or when I was putting out the books because people was telling me I could easily charge $29.99 for my books because they are pretty big. They're 230 pages each book. They're not no little bitty
Right.
books.
That's a great value.
But I
Yeah.
only charge $19.99. At first it was $14.99, but then Amazon kicked in inflation because I am
Right.
self-published, so I had to raise the price so that I could, continue to pay for the website because I had to pay for, the web hosting and all those other fees that come along with that. So I tried, but my whole point though is to try to keep it as inexpensive as possible because my mom, it was four of us. After my dad passed away, she never remarried. So, but she would have loved to give this to some of her, to her kids,
Right.
and it's $14.99 a month. But if you subscribe for the whole year, you're only paying $10 a month. So it's $120 for the year. And I think that that's something that people can afford today, no matter which bracket you're in. You
I see
know,
what you're saying.
so I try to, get people to see those things, but I also let you see it for free. Like you can do Carter G. Woodson and all of his activities. You don't have to put a credit card in or any of that stuff because I want you to learn our culture because you want to learn it, not because you feel like you've been bamboozled into a subscription. So when
Gotcha.
you do subscribe, you subscribe full well knowing what you're getting. When you go to the Carter G. Woodson gain the free demo, uh, the way his profile is set up is the exact same way that all the other people that's featured on the website is set up. You getting the same, and it's the same type of activities for each person, but just their information about it. So, but yeah, I've been fortunate enough to been featured on like What's Right with Tampa Bay, Beautiful People. Those programs saw, what I was doing with my books and how I'm trying to get them into the school system, and they've been gracious enough to have me on their shows to showcase the books and highlight them. And that has been, working out and giving me other opportunities to speak and talk more about the books and what it's all about.
So there's a lot of passion, a lot of drive, right? Just to be an entrepreneur in general, it takes a lot. It takes a certain type of person, I should say. So you seem to be very driven. You're authentic, and you're trying to spread the word and give people value. So what does the future hold then? So because you seem like you already have a lot going on, right?
Mhm.
But I can sense that there is a grander plan. So if you could kind of just give us maybe just a little bit about what initiatives you have moving forward. Are you just trying to make the site even larger than what it currently is, or are you looking to uh, do some other passion projects?
Yeah. So what I would like to do is, like I said, the big plan in all of this is to get it in the school systems, to allow teachers to use this as a supplement along with the already American history books that they have authorized for all the school systems in the country. So they can use this as a guidance tool. I'm also a content creator for like Teachers Pay Teachers. I build content for them, and I know they buy my ebooks to teach their classes all the time. So I know that it is it's well received. Teachers can use this because they're buying it on that website. But the hopes is to get the books into the school system and to make this platform just one of those platforms that you can be like, hey, go to we gonna learn today, .com, and you can learn about these different black historical figures. Or let's learn about a diminished story like, the Golden 13 or the 761st Tank Battalion or the Black Arts Movement. Or do you really know the story behind the Green Book? These different things. We
Right.
hear about these things, but what about has somebody dove in and kind of highlighted some of these different things? What about the Black Hockey League or the Negro Baseball League? we talk about these things, but who's going in highlighting these stories? And that's what I'm doing on the website is, and it's been such a great pleasure learning about these different things that these people have done, just, uh, touching base on some of, you know, I can only imagine how hard it was to do some of these things because it's still hard for us today.
Right.
We
So
got
yeah,
these laws,
how
but
insurmountable was it
right.
during their time?
I
Yeah.
see how hard it is for me today trying to get this point across. I can only imagine how W.E.B. Du Bois, did in his time. What was Booker T. Washington thinking when he was the president of Tuskegee Institute? So these different people and the things that they were, the mindset that they was having on how to bring us up so that we could, make us a better as a people. Uh, that was the thing because they understood that nothing was ever going to be given to us, and it still isn't. We, in some ways, still don't have what you would think would just be, a given because you have certain credentials, uh, and you're told to go to school, get these degrees, and you do that, and then you still get the door shut in your face, or you still come on and get hired and realize you're the only one with the degree. Like, why? How is that even possible? You're thinking everybody in here should have the degree. That's what was on the application that I filled out. But you get there and you're like, why am I the only one with a bachelor's degree? Everybody else got certifications. Like, I'm not getting this, but we all getting paid the same thing, so, you just got to realize that, my whole point behind all of this is just to showcase that these individuals broke a lot of glass ceilings that we think are still there, and you can use their stories to fulfill your goals and aspirations so that you can keep shooting for the stars that they tell you you can't reach.
Absolutely. No, so I mean that's the old adage, right? I heard growing up, you have to be twice as good to get half as far, right? So with you being in the position that you're currently in, like you're doing phenomenal work, like you deserve all the kudos because not only have you done all these things, right? And there's so many side tangents I could go into, so I definitely have to get you back on the show, right? Because I want to talk to you about not only what you currently have going on, but just uh, a little bit more about because I know some history, right? I'm nowhere near where I feel I should be, but when it came to the Triple Nickel or to the Buffalo Soldiers, whenever I would have an opportunity to go visit them, either in the assisted living homes, or they would come to us on base and they tell their stories. It always blew my mind. I was like, no one told me that was never in a book, that was never in a guide, and this person is like, you know, uh, they've seen things that I can only uh,
Imagine.
imagine, right? Especially being who they were. So I kind of want to pick your brain about those certain things, but I got to have you back on the show because
All right.
again, like there's so much history, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And
So
like that's what I was saying. Like some of the stories, I just like to. I'll just say this real quick.
right,
We all thought that the Tuskegee Airmen was uh, the only black
right,
unit, but they never told us that every branch had a Tuskegee Airman. You had the Malford Point Marines that fought in World War II, just like the Tuskegee Airmen that performed, great. The 761st Tank Battalion, that was the Army, and the Golden 13 was the Navy. Like, you had all of these men doing these great things, and we don't know about them. Like I was in the Marine Corps, and you hear about the Malford Point Marines, uh, but you don't really know the story about the Malford Point Marines.
right,
It's almost like it's whispers. You hear more about Belleau Woods and stuff like that than you hear about them. And even though they fought in Belleau Woods, that's the crazy part about it. Like you just don't realize, the things these people have done.
Yeah, and it's crazy how history is so buried, and that kind of is kind it kind of fits into what's currently going on with McDill, where I'm seeing on the news where they're finding these unmarked graves and things of that nature, where they're now having to excavate to
Right.
properly bury these people. And there's so much history that's just missing, right? So
Yeah.
again, I have to have you back on, and I think what you're doing is unbelievably encouraging, motivational, and inspirational as well. So
Oh, I appreciate it.
I wish you all the success in the world, and then I need to keep tabs on you as the years go by to see how your platform is growing, what else you're teaching, right? And there's a lot of history that I myself need to dive into because I just don't know it.
Yeah.
If I don't
And
know it, my kids might not know it, right?
that's the point of the site is to make it readily available. So anytime you want to go, say you in a doctor's office, you trying to learn a little bit about Maya Angelou, go to WeGoLearnToday.com and then click on her name, play a game or two, play, do a word search, do a crossword puzzle, play Frogger, do a jigsaw puzzle. Because all of these things have different things about those people, but you're playing a game while you sitting there waiting
Right.
10, 15 minutes, just like you would play Candy Crush or something like that. But now you're learning in the process, so that's the whole point of it, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So before I let you go, right, I always like to land the episode on something that's a little bit lighter, to show that I've been blessed to have lots of entrepreneurs recently, like a lot of people who are, making their own business and setting their own new heights and inspiring and being inspirational. But what do you do when you're not being a CEO, right? Like, how do you unwind? How do you relax? Is that even possible?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, it is. I am still a huge video game person. I still play video games.
Okay.
I do music production, which I've incorporated into the website too. I create beats. I have a
Okay.
studio in my house, so I do all the production here. I write the raps, I perform the raps. I'm just like a creative person all around. But I play basketball. I still go to the gym and play ball. Those are the things that and I'm a huge movie goer. Like,
Okay.
those are like the things that I like to do in my kind of down. And I got a lot, like me doing like that 4 or 5 years that I was doing, creating the books and the templates and making up the activities. That was the hard work. Now, all I do is pretty much just kind of market the thing, go do school talks and stuff like that. So the hard work is done, as far as creating it and stuff. But all I'm doing now is trying to get the word out, because that is just like with anything. If no one knows it's there, then it's useless.
Right.
So if I can get, and like I said, that's why I'm so grateful that these TV stations and these festivals, those things, going to schools and churches and stuff, those things allow me to get the information out. And just like with you, when people see it, they just can't. First of all, they like, where has it been? Uh, Second of all, they just can't believe. Uh, you can tell it's not a fly by night thing. It was put together, very well. I had there's multiple teachers that teach the class. Uh, they were able, and everything is animated. So it's in an animated formation, which I do as well. But, it's just one of those things that, like you said, I've kind of encompassed the things that I love within the website. So I'm never really working, because I'm always doing what I love to do. So
Right. And
I
that's
get
the dream.
I'm a multitasker, so I can watch a movie while I'm coding something over here. I have multiple screens to where I'm doing one thing on one screen, but I'm working on something over here, or I'm listening to a documentary, because I do that a lot too. I like hearing the firsthand stuff. Like you said, when you get the Buffalo Soldier come in and they telling you
Right.
that's the ultimate, like, so I've taken it upon myself to listen to Maya Angelou's stuff, James Baldwin, these different people, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, listen to their documentaries so that I try to put that within. So, some stuff you might not have read, it was possibly in one of their documentaries.
Mhm.
I pull those little facts out that they have said, and put those in to where you can learn about that too, even though you never saw the documentary.
No, that's great. So, thank you for coming on the show. It's kind of crazy, right? Serendipitous that we just run into each other. We were watching a basketball game, right?
Yep,
We started talking, and next thing you know, I'm like, you where? You work for who?
yep,
I was like, you
exactly.
write books? So I was like, hey, I got this podcast, man. I got to get you on. And then obviously,
Yeah, man.
this is not the only month that we should celebrate Black History, but
Yeah,
because
I
of
agree.
this being, showcase, I'm like, I got to get you on this month to be able to spread the word, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, so it's definitely great to have you on. Thank you for spending the time with us.
Oh,
Um,
anytime, brother.
and
Just let me know.
yeah, I gotta get you. Definitely gotta get you back on, man. I gotta pick your brain. But to end the show, right? So again, your inspiration. It's definitely encouraging to see what you're doing. I got a book in my head, so I know like you're like my third or fourth author friend, right? So I'm like I got to start picking out brains. Because I don't know how you wrote 10. It's been 4 years. I haven't read a chapter. But one
Oh,
day I'm gonna get this book out of my head. But
okay.
definitely, definitely stay tuned, everybody. Please continue to check us out. Monday, Tuesday, our topics. Wednesday, discussion. Thursdays, Ask a CISSP, just like this one, where I get to interview somebody who is doing amazing things in the community. So in this case, it's a person who took their skills they learned in the military and the private sector to become a systems engineer and then launch their own business, right? That's doing something that is helpful to the community and just educating everybody, right? Not just the kids, but adults as well. And then Fridays, everything else, so movies, books, games, all that good stuff, right? The things we do to unwind to get the cyber out of us for the long weekend, hopefully. So
Yeah.
hit up all the websites that go by our name. You can hit me a person. I'm at RYRY Security Guy. That's RYRY Security Guy. You can find me on LinkedIn, Clubhouse, Twitter, Threads, and a few other places soon. So stay tuned for that. And where can they find you?
Oh, you can find me on everything we gonna learn today.com or Facebook we gonna learn today, TikTok we gonna learn today, Instagram we gonna learn today, YouTube we gonna learn today.
Right.
Everything we gonna learn
Right. I was really surprised. Like you have a lot of traffic coming to you because you were number one and Kevin Hart was like number three or something like that. And I was like, what? that
today. Hey, when
that
I
shows it's
first
not a fly by
started,
night situation.
it was the opposite. It was like I was like the fourth page when I first started this 5 years ago. But now there are a lot of people, because I'm getting people like the schools. I'll ask them, how did you find me? Some of them be like, hey, I googled you. I googled Tampa Bay black-owned businesses, and
Yeah.
it tells you what you do as a business. And that one lady was like, you was recommended to me by a lady that works for PBS.
Okay.
Well, the crazy part is I've never worked with PBS, so I don't know. So the word is spreading,
There it is.
and it's getting out there, man. So, but I'm just excited that you get in this stuff as an entrepreneur and as a creator, just in hopes to somebody can pick up whatever you created and enjoy their day with it or learn from it or grow with it. And I'm just happy that I'm able to touch some of the people's lives and help them, advance themselves as they grow in this journey we call life.
Absolutely. No, that's a great word to end on. Everybody continue to tune in, stay safe, stay secure.